President Trump surges in the polls. Biden calls it quits. Team Biden had taken old Joe off the campaign trail last week so that he could rest, get pumped full of Prevagen, and that they could use cram session time to pump all of the lines into him that he needed to memorize so he could sound somewhat cognitive during the debate. And the new debate format actually worked in Trump's favor. Let Biden talk and he begins to get off. And he did. And he didn't look well. And when you heard the mainstream media say it was a good night for Joe, no, it wasn't. It was a draw. No, it wasn't. Trump mopped the floor up with him. He knocked him out with, "Who built the cages, Joe? Who built the cages, Joe?" And then, of course, on the whole fracking and getting Joe Biden on that debate stage to admit that he is going to phase out fossil fuel. And then for Trump to look into the camera and say, "Are you hearing this, Pennsylvania? Are you hearing this, Texas? Are you hearing this, Ohio? Are you paying attention, energy producing states? Are you hearing this?" This was devastating. So they tried to do damage control all day Friday and have Joe kind of walk those comments back. Even got Kamala Harris out there laughing and saying, "I'm not a socialist." There will be no fracking, but the videotape doesn't lie. And there's plenty of videotape out there. And when Joe Biden actually dared the president, "Post the video, man, post it." Okay. And I'm telling you, long before even President Trump's people had it up on his website, you know that young people watching that debate, they immediately got out their iPhones and they were on Google and they were on YouTube. And when they saw it, they knew this guy is a flip-flop liar. It's just starting to catch up, and the whole Hunter Biden, oh baby, oh baby, oh baby, oh baby, it's all over. Then on Saturday, Joe Biden trying to do a rally in Pennsylvania that I don't know if 40 people showed up for it. But there were over 1,000 people on the other side of the fence, Trump supporters who decided to have a Trump parade and a Trump rally just outside the drive-in venue for Joe Biden. And that kind of irked Biden. In fact, it irked him a lot. You could tell he was visibly irked by it. And again, who is it that sets up even these Biden drive-ins? Let me just pause right here. I know the president makes fun of them, and they are kind of funny in the sense that who wants to talk to cars? Now, for a month, I had to do drive-in church because of all of this nonsense that I have to deal with governmental intrusion and, trying to thwart my First Amendment rights. But, we had fun with it, but I had 10 times as many people coming to my drive-in church than Biden has or even Obama has doing these drive-up, drive-in rallies. In fact, I kind of like the honking horns. In fact, we wanted to get an air horn when we went back in the building to replace the amens. It was just something to do for fun. But Biden doesn't know what he's doing. Team Biden doesn't know what they're doing. And again, you would think especially after the debacle of the national conventions where, the entire Democratic convention looked like it was one endless self-made YouTube video with absolutely zero production quality. And then the Republicans who just knocked it out of the park with a Hollywood-style, professional TV-style production. And then the night of the grand finale, the president, White House in the background, fireworks, etc., etc., etc. It was great. Now you got the president out there, and he's got jumbotrons, and he's showing collages of montages of Joe Biden and the things that he has said and the things that he has stood for. It's fantastic. They always make sure that there's a sea of Trump people right behind the president. If they can't put people right behind him because of whatever local ordinance and social distancing won't allow that to happen, they make sure that there's a grand presentation of flags behind him. In other words, they set the stage. Biden's doing this drive-in thing, and behind him is just a field, and not even like a nice field. It's just like a field of weeds, and I half expected to see junked cars and old burned out dumpsters. I mean, it's just Does anyone on his team know how to create the visual? Does anyone on his team understand a thing about optics? I mean, here's a guy that can't even operate a Zoom meeting and he's going to operate the country. I mean, come on now. Let's get real here, people. And the more of this that's been happening, young people they're not going to vote. The poll results are out today. Young people are not going to go to the polls to vote. They're just not. There's nothing to vote for, and people want to have something to vote for, not just vote against Orange Man. And I don't care how much the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media, the Democrats, Saturday Night Live, who else, keep ginning up all of this hatred of Trump and movie stars lecturing us and telling us what we ought to do and making videos where they're naked, telling us to go, come on. Give me a break. So the polls were already turning in Trump's favor, but Rasmussen comes out and they have devastating news for Joe Biden. 2 weeks ago, supposedly, according to Rasmussen, Joe Biden had a 12-point lead over the president. I never bought that. Then, coming into last week, just before the debate, it was a 3-point lead. Now, after the debate and after the weekend, Trump now leads Biden by 1. Bum, ba-dum, bum. They got him ready for the debate. He didn't do well in the debate. Then he has this rally where all these Trump supporters show up. He gets agitated and aggravated and acts like that, the Democrats never show up at Trump stuff. Oh, yes, they do. And we do the, USA, USA, and security removes them. So don't act like this. And the riots almost broke out in Chicago during the 2016 election cycle, and Megyn Kelly said that Trump brought that on himself. Bye, Megyn. I don't care if you got a podcast and the conservatives have fallen back in love with you. Bye, Megyn. What was it the president said? Oh, quit acting like you're some kind of innocent baby here. So he referred to these Trump supporters that were there Saturday as chumps. Oh, now, see, that's the type of thing that goes viral. And people can wrap their head around it. A lot of people can't wrap their head around the whole Hunter Biden and the grifter and the being the bag man for his dad and illegal money from foreign entities. That actually requires you got to think and follow the story, and that's too hard. But a soundbite, chumps, well, that's kind of mean. And after all, he was the one running to be the nice guy, and now he's being mean. Yeah. You've forgotten that he attacked farmers during the primary and challenged them to push-ups and said, don't vote for me, and, sticking his finger in people's face. He is a crotchety old man with dementia, and crotchety old men with dementia can become violent because they got tempers. And they know that he has been one walking gaffe after another. The weekend was a disaster for them. He was way off on how much free college was going to cost. And he got fact-checked in real time. And even his campaign had to come out today and said, yes, the vice president really misspoke himself on what it's actually going to cost to offer free education. You think? And then yesterday he said that he was proud of the fact that he had started an organization called Voter Fraud. In other words, what? You're admitting you create voter fraud? And then last night at his final event of the day, he basically said that he was going to beat George Bush next Tuesday. I wasn't aware George Bush was running for the presidency. So now they have suspended, he's not going to, they call it put a lid. He's not scheduled to make any more appearances until the election. What? You got a week to go? I'll tell you exactly why. Not only is Trump now leading in the polls, but Rasmussen is pointing out something very strange has happened. No Republican has ever drawn more than 10% of the black vote. And President Trump is polling in the 40s among black voters. Bum, ba-dum, bum. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. Can I make a prediction here? I have been concerned, not that Trump wouldn't win re-election. I've always believed that at the end of the day he would win this thing. but that the Democrats on election night were going to try to drag this out indefinitely and get the courts involved and ramp up riots in the streets demanding, that, call this thing for Biden and how many more mail-in ballots do we have to create to make this thing happen. If the black vote really does break for Trump, and having 50 Cent and Ice Cube out there, basically kind of giving thumbs up to Trump, that really could happen. If that happens, it's all over on election night. I mean, it's just absolutely done. And I would love it if God would spare us from this thing being dragged out for weeks on end. Now, I believe that ultimately Trump will prevail, but again, it'll be this other cloud, this other fight that has to happen. Because these Marxists aren't going to go away without a fight, but at some point, you better accept the fact that there really is a God on the throne, and he loves to flip the script in such a way that the Bible says he has chosen the simple things to confound the wise. Can you imagine all these prognosticators, the elites over there at PMSNBC and the Young Turks online? Can you imagine them not only seeing a repeat of 2016, but seeing the black vote decisively go for Trump? So I'm going to throw that into my prediction column. I already said New York and California are going to flip red, and nobody sees it but me. And I'm going to predict that the president pulls half of the black vote. Could that be why Joe Biden's off the campaign trail? And not just because Rasmussen is now saying this. Remember, the polls we see versus the internal polls that the candidates have access to, oh baby. What are Joe's internal polls showing? Bum, ba-dum, bum. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a like. Make sure you're a subscriber to the channel. Smack the bell and click the word all to get notification of my next rant. You know why? They're worth it.